Hey everybody, welcome back to Nikki T Live. I'm your host Nick Taylor, and today I am hanging with my good friend Anthony Campolo. How you doing today, Anthony?
Yo. Hey, doing good. Happy to be back. I think this is my third time on.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you, for folks who might not know you, why don't you give an intro and maybe kind of how you got into tech a bit? And I'm gonna fix the title right now because it's showing the title I had earlier this morning for when I was streaming on my own. So I'll sort that out. But anyways, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Anthony Campolo. I am a developer advocate. I have done a lot of open source and worked at companies doing things like GraphQL, blockchain, and most recently now, I was working at Edgio, which is kind of like a Cloudflare, like a Netlify, dev tooling deployment platform type thing. And so you worked at Netlify, so we actually have a lot of
Yeah.
shared experience there in terms of working at those two companies. But I have recently kind of pivoted and going more like freelance kind of people like Jason Langsdorff and James Q. Quick and others who are doing
Yeah.
DevRel at companies. I think Jason chose to kind of do it. James was kind of let go, and then I think I basically was just thinking, I think I want to do it. So I kind of just
Okay.
decided to quit Edgio at a certain point because they were
Okay.
pivoting
Okay.
to a different. They were kind of pivoting to being like a security company essentially, which wasn't really a thing that I felt very well suited for or really that
Okay.
interested in either. But I have been doing just like some freelance work for Dash, which is a cryptocurrency. But
Okay.
the thing that we're here to talk about is AI because AI is cool. No, AI is the thing that so many devs have been talking about, and you gave me a little bit of background in terms of where your knowledge is with it right now. But
Yeah.
for me, it's actually something that it's the reason why I first learned to code in the first place is because I wanted to do AI. And this was because that back in like 2016, there was a first kind of big AI like media explosion hype cycle type thing. Not really because there were
Yeah.
tools that people were using, but because you had AlphaGo. Do you remember
Okay.
AlphaGo?
I remember hearing about it. I'm not too familiar.
So
Uh,
do you know about the game Go?
yeah, I know what Go is. I didn't know about Go until we had Cassidy Williams on the Dev2 stream a few years ago. So she gave
Hmm.
me the whole lowdown. Super old game. Excuse me, very popular and very easy to start, but like takes years to master. And
Yeah.
and then there's this supercomputer, right? That's what AlphaGo is. Is that right?
So AlphaGo was a deep learning neural net, which is a lot of the tech that has kind of led up to what we have now with ChatGPT. Basically, it's just a giant network of kind of random interconnected nodes that they had play itself. Well, first they trained it on a bunch of human games, and then it
Okay.
eventually got to like better than superhuman performance by having it play itself. And
Okay.
with Go, you'll hear people say this a lot. There's like more move spaces than there are like atoms in the universe. So unlike chess, which you can kind of brute force, you need to have a more kind of holistic understanding of the board space and how to, compete and things like that. So that
Okay.
was considered a huge breakthrough at the time. And then there's other stuff as well. Like Google had this like image generating thing that was called Deep Dream, I think, and it would
Okay.
generate these images. And it was like, how when you see like things like the kind of like the fingers will be messed up on like AI images now, there's like weird kind of digital artifacts. So, but this was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when they were just getting them to recognize like shapes and objects. So it
Okay.
would create images that were like psychedelic almost because they are like kind of morphing in and out of different shapes. And so
Okay.
all this stuff I thought was just super, super fascinating. And I had no idea how to code though, because it's like 10 years ago. I had a music degree and I was just like broke and didn't have a job and didn't know what to do. So I
Yeah.
started to like very, very slowly learn how to code. And it took like years and years and years. And I eventually just like kind of got into web dev and learned how to make websites because it was a lot simpler. But anyway, like now we're like 10 years later and then like AI blows up again and like everyone's talking about AI now. And
Yeah.
But the cool thing now is finally we have useful stuff. Like we can actually use AI now to do things for us. This has not been the case for the 10 years I've been into AI. She's just in the last year you can actually use AI to do literally anything useful. So
Yeah.
some people are very like still think it's just like, it's just another AI hype cycle. Like, it's not really a big deal, and it's still kind of useless. And it's like, no, things are different. Like, this is actually different.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I didn't realize all that history there. But okay. So that's yeah, that's thanks for the kind of like the recap there. The like we were saying before the stream, like I don't consider myself like very well versed in AI at the moment. Like I'm definitely a power user of AI tools. Like I use ChatGPT every day. I have GitHub Copilot.
I would
I've
argue
looked at
then you do know a lot about AI then because actually interacting with the tools to use it is how you learn about it, even more so than necessarily building it in the first place.
okay, true, fair point. I guess, or I guess I should be more precise in what I meant is like
Mhm.
I don't understand the deep internals necessarily of things. Also, I fixed your
Neither
the
do the people
prompt.
who build them. That's the thing is they're literally it's just like a thing that you kind of run on a bunch of data and
Yeah.
do different optimization tricks on, but it's really hard for even the people who are building the models to fully say why they behave the way they do. It's really kind of interesting.
Yeah. No, it's I do find it's super interesting because we're gonna talk about like the topics AI and front end. So like I I guess how do you see this playing out in terms like when you say AI front ends, do you mean like something AI powered that's gonna build me my website front end, or do you mean something else, or is it a both or a bunch of
That's
things?
a super good question actually. So it's not something that well, this is it's like the snake eating its own tail thing. You could kind of think of it either way at a certain point, but what I'm going to be showing more how to do is how do you have a website that you integrate AI capabilities into. So if
Okay,
you're just thinking you have a normal dashboard and then you wanted to like bring in a chat bot to like do something or to analyze some of your data, that would be kind of the thing. Now, once that gets sophisticated enough, you could build that into a website that then builds websites and using the AI
okay,
if you wanted to. So that's why I say it's like the snake eating itself. But the thing I
okay.
think is cool is right now, most people are interacting with these things through something like ChatGPT.
Yeah,
And developers have their like coding tools with like autocomplete and things like that. But that's really just a developer thing. Like your average normal person is just interacting with ChatGPT. Pretty much that's
y-
basically it.
y-
And
yeah, true.
that is kind of limiting how people can conceptualize just how broadly you can apply this technology. Because really, all you need is just an endpoint that you send text to, and you can get text back. And that will
Okay.
recreate all of what you're actually getting through Chat GBT, because that's what you're doing. You're sending
Yeah.
messages to OpenAI's server. OpenAI takes those messages, feeds it to their ChatGPT bot, and then gives you an answer back. So there's no reason why you couldn't have just that in your own website in any form you want.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, yeah. That makes total sense because like OpenAI, like which ChatGPT runs off of, you know, you can get API keys there. We talked about this briefly before, but like essentially I could literally make my own ChatGPT. Like I could make the front end better if I wanted to or to my liking, and it would still be the same capabilities most likely. Or
Yes, well, it's identical in the sense that you are interacting still with their services unless you want to use your own models. So this is kind
okay,
of the
yeah.
next point is that once you have your front end, then you will be in a position as a developer to switch out different models if they get better. Because right now,
Okay.
these things take like a year for them to create and like 10 to $100 million. It's an extremely expensive endeavor to create these foundational models. So
Yeah.
GPT-4 is OpenAI state of the art, but that one's already about a year old. And Claude 3 just came out a month ago and it blows it away. Like it's significantly better across many different dimensions. So
Yeah.
you could wait around for ChatGPT to get better and then upgrade that, or you can just say, hey, I'm just going to switch over to Claude. And
Yeah.
for if you are using one of the higher level frameworks that we're going to be talking about today, you even don't have to worry about the idiosyncrasies of Claude's API versus OpenAI's API because
Okay.
they're giving you an interface that kind of abstracts across all of those different models. So you just give it an API key and then have a chat endpoint, and then they
Okay.
figure out kind of all the stuff under the hood.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. So some kind of like super Oracle that allows you to hit all kinds of different services. Okay. Yeah, this brings up a an interesting uh point or slash discussion, but like, you know, something like ChatGPT, like I've had people mention it's something like this all-knowing oracle, which it's not necessarily, but it's like a Google search. It's like it's not meant for something specific. It's just like, you know, uh, you know, h- how many grams is a pound, or also like what's the size of a neutron, and then this and this and this, and then whereas like I know there's this movement to kind of have more specialized, like I think that they're referred to as agents from what I've heard because I've listened to
So,
Swix's
so an
Leighton
agent
podcast.
Yeah, so an agent's not necessarily specialized. What it means is an agent is like a chat bot that can run multiple tasks and check whether they've been completed or not. So imagine like if Chat
Okay.
GPT, you could tell it, hey, I want you to like actually code a website in the sense of like they would need to go to a service, create an account, then
Okay, okay.
deploy something, create a GitHub repo, do all those kind of things, and that's what an agent would do.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So okay, so that I get then. But yeah, I guess there was also more like models being very specific, which can be a beneficial thing, because like having the all like air quotes all-knowing Oracle model might be good
Well,
for like day to
Well, let me
day.
talk
I
about
don't
that
know.
actually, because
Okay.
the it doesn't. I don't think it makes sense to ask ChatGPT like random factoid questions. It's actually useful for generating text like that. So if you want to, I mean, it can write poetry, it can write stories, it can
Yeah.
do all sorts of things. It can also debug code. Like you can have a conversation with ChatGPT to fix your coding errors. So I
Yeah.
I think it's a tool that you dialogue with, and so it's not just like looking up random facts.
Yeah.
And the specialization thing, there's this thing called fine tuning where you can kind of take a model, give it more data, and kind of change the model to make it more specialized. That's not really, I
Yeah.
think, where things are going. There's more and more
Okay.
research going into the foundational models. So the foundational models are going to keep getting better and better and better. And what is
Oh,
improving
okay.
now is the ability to feed them your own data. So you don't need to
Okay.
have a different trained model. You just have a really good foundational model that has a long enough context window that you could give it everything it needs to know to understand that domain. So instead of like fine
Okay.
tuning a model, you just like feed it a book and then it reads the whole book and then it can respond as if it knows all the knowledge in that book, whether it was trained on it or not.
Okay. And in terms of that example of like feeding a book or whatever, like can we talk just to kind of clarify some concepts? I'm like they're kind of murky in my head a bit, so I just want to make sure I
Sure.
understand them fully. So like when we talk about embeddings, from what I've understood high level, it's really like let me try and run some kind of not necessarily code pass, but like certain things to get to my answer faster so I don't have to pass as many tokens long term because there is a cost to these things. So is that kind of correct or
So
if it,
embeddings are like a different type of fine tuning. So fine tuning is when you change the model itself. Embeddings are when create you basically take the text, you take new text and you
okay,
turn it into a language that the model understands. So
okay,
it's usually used for things like search and recommendation and stuff like that because the embeddings can kind of find like similar topic spaces. So
okay,
if you have, this is like a big example. If you have like, you imagine like ideas clustered around each other. So you can have like king and queen would be like clustered
Yeah.
around each other. And then if you have like king minus the concept of man, then you get queen. So it's like stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
Y
would say embeddings and fine tunings, though, for the most part, aren't really things you need to worry about too much because most things are going towards like vector databases
yeah.
and or just literally being able to shove all the context into the LLM because the thing that's changed a lot in the last like 6 months is that ChatGPT when it first came out, you could give it like a couple thousand words at most and it would just break
Yeah.
down. Whereas now you can give it like I don't know, 50,000 or something like a really ridiculously large amount. And Claude is up to like a million. So at a certain point,
Okay.
it just kind of becomes limitless. And then it's just like the limiting factor is going to be how big is your code base.
Okay. That brings up another question, and I'm gonna I'm just throwing. I know you might not necessarily have the answer to all these, but like
Mhm.
the fact that like Claude or ChatGPT has just like such a bigger amount that it can take in terms of like like you mean words which are basically tokens, right? That's what you're referring
So
to?
yeah, so a word is usually so on average a word is 4 tokens.
Okay. So I guess the question I have, there's obviously a cost to tokens, but like is there also the possibility of you're throwing too many things at it that it's like your original message is just completely lost because you tried to add so many things to, like I don't know, like if you said, you know, how far is it from Montreal to Toronto? And then, like that might give a very clear answer. But then, like, after that, you're like, okay, but on Sundays and at this time, and if you're in this specific car, you know what I mean? Like, if all of a sudden, if you get so laser focused, is that good or bad? I feel like in general, like forget computers for a second. Like the more context I give to somebody about something, it'll make it more clearer. But I I I read something briefly the other week. I don't know, I have the article, but they're saying sometimes just kind of like flooding it with too much stuff is just not a good thing as well. Have you heard that?
So not it's actually is worse than that. Claude, Anthropic, the company behind Claude, just put out
Okay.
research that basically showed this is the that by extending beyond the context window, giving it too much stuff, that's how you can eventually get it to behave outside of its like safety guarantees and things that they programmed it like specifically not to do. And this is what's called like
Okay, okay.
prompt hacking. And so
Okay, yeah,
that's
yeah.
jailbreaking prompt injection. I think that's the term. So
Okay.
that's bad. And we should
Okay.
just define the context window first. So if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about right now, the basically when you have a conversation with ChatGPT or with one of these things, there's a certain
Yeah.
amount of memory it can remember in terms of like when you have a conversation with it, you try and reference previous parts of the conversation. It can do that as you talk to it, but eventually you'll get to a
Yeah.
point where it just gets confused because there's a finite amount of tokens that it can actually like, keep in its kind of like working memory, the transformer. And then once it runs out and once it gets full, then it just has to start bumping stuff off the end as it's adding in new
Yeah.
stuff. But this has been the context have been extended to such insane degrees over the last couple months and will probably continue to extend out, and so that may become less and less of a problem. And it may be that you
Yeah.
will just always have kind of like a running memory of every conversation you've ever had with one of your chat bots because this just will never run out
Okay.
of space.
And this is something like that still kind of blows my mind. Like I know we can keep throwing hardware at stuff, but like the amount, you know what I mean? Because I'm just thinking the number of people on the planet, and then the amount. I don't know. Like obviously there's hardware to handle this, but it's like
Well, it's also
wow.
just like
It's like
Moore's law, you know. It's like we've lived this how things have gotten faster and smaller throughout our whole life. People, most of the stuff would have seemed insane, you know, not too long ago. So, but the
yeah,
one
yeah.
last thing that's also going to be crazy is that right now, the things generate answers not as fast as you want. Like usually, you can kind of sit there and watch
Mhm.
like them write out the things like 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah.
That's going to improve by like 10x over the next year because
Okay.
that's one of the specific things that the AI chip companies have been working on is the actual like speed of token output. So
Okay.
that's going to make a big difference as well in terms of just like the use cases you can enable.
Okay. Cool. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I think I was reading. There's Microsoft and OpenAI talking about like some million GPU computer, I think, or
Yeah,
uh,
Stargate, I think is what it's called, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, that's right, Stargate. Yeah, yeah, of course, it's gotta you gotta name it something sci-fi related,
So
obviously.
I think
But
that
yeah,
is going to be used to train GPT-6 because
okay,
GPT-5 should be coming out any day now. So that's if they're building that now, that's going to be for probably their next big iteration on the
okay,
model.
okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, no, and it's just like I don't know, it is pretty wild because like I basically I had Copilot free for quite a long time because I worked in open source and
Mhm.
now my company pays for it, but it's there's a lot of these tools like ChatGPT isn't perfect, Copilot isn't perfect, but I still find them very useful because, you know, depending on what it is, like Copilot's really good at like there's a lot of like boilerplate stuff that, I can obviously type it out myself and it just knows how to do it. Or if I copy something or speaking of context, and I remember Roselle Scarlett who used to work at GitHub, she was telling me this, like if you want GitHub Copilot to have more context, have at least in the no pun intended in the context of Visual Studio Code,
Mhm.
have relevant files open, and then like when you copy paste stuff, like it knows, and like when it does the first thing that you wanted it to do, then it knows to replicate it if you have it can figure out your patterns and stuff, and I find that super useful. Sometimes it's completely wrong in terms of like trying to autocomplete me,
Yeah, I
but
think I think Copilot enables a lot more of the things that people worry about when it comes to this stuff because they're worried about people just like generating a whole bunch of code that like they don't really
yeah,
know
yeah,
what it's doing. What I like to do, and this takes longer and it's a slower process, but I enjoy actually just like telling like talking to ChatGPT or Claude and kind of explaining what I'm
yeah,
trying to build, like what's broken, and then just giving it the specific code that I think it needs to know to have the context for that.
yeah, yeah,
And then it will like anytime I do that, if I do it clearly, it will almost always know exactly what was wrong and how to fix it, or it'll generate me the exact code that I
yeah,
wanted. Whereas when you're just auto completing based on the context of what you've written before, there's like how can it can't read your mind, like, so it can't really know
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
trying to do. It just tries to infer it from all this other stuff and just general patterns of
yeah,
coding. But just if you want to just say, hey, I want you to do this, instead of like having to like figure out how to get it to generate the thing you want it to get, so then you can hit tab.
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, I found adding comments to say like what I want to do, which is kind of like if you were chatting with
So
ChatGPT.
that's the hack of doing what I do in within
Yeah,
Copilot itself. You talk to it through writing code
yeah,
or through writing
yeah,
comments. Yeah.
yeah. But typically, at least my workflow currently right now is typically I let Copilot do like a lot of the boilerplate stuff, and sometimes, like I said, it knows like when I copy pasted something, like it can figure out what I'm about to do. That I think it's great for that stuff. But a lot of the other stuff, I just tend to have a conversation in Chat GPT, like you were saying,
Yeah.
and it's not always right, but I still find it helpful because I, I think one interesting thing about prompt engineering is it forces you to explain yourself better, which I think is a nice side
Exactly.
effect, actually,
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I mean, and so on and so on. And again, even if it doesn't give me the right solution or a complete solution, I still find it very helpful because I'm kind of like rubber ducking in a sense a little bit, like, hey,
But this time the rubber duck can code back. That's the first
yeah,
time. The
yeah,
rubber duck
yeah,
also codes
exactly.
this time.
No, totally. That's totally it. And so I still think it's super helpful because I'm like, okay, that's not exactly what I wanted, but like I know enough about the language I'm coding in, so I'm like, this is a good starting point for me, and I know like how to shape it after that. So that's still very useful to me. Um, but yeah, like you were saying, like I don't think, at least at this point, we shouldn't take things as like this is 100% like correct and just copy paste it because one thing which I'm sure you've noticed too, I can't speak for Claude AI because I haven't really used it yet, but
Mhm.
Chat GPT is very confident of itself. Yes, I can help you with that. Here is the exact answer. And then it's
Totally,
like,
yeah.
here you go. And then I'll write like, sorry, I have a bit of a cold still. I'll write like, no, that's not right at all. And then Chat GPT would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. My apologies. This will work.
Yeah,
And then,
I know. It
and,
always
and
does
it
that.
happens like 3 or 4 times and I'm like dying. I'm like, you're so polite, but you're so wrong.
Yeah, the things I've found that it struggles with are things like regular expressions, like things with like weird edge cases that you didn't
Yeah,
specify ahead of time. So usually though, you'll start to, as you use it more, you start to get a sense of the broadly what it can do and then where it will break. And
yeah,
so like as long as you, as you say, you just need to have like the presence of mind to actually like check what
yeah,
it's doing. But for the most part, I find when you're working iteratively with it, like you're gonna know whether the code works or not because you're trying to fix
yeah,
something. So like you did a thing and gave it some code, put some code in, you see did it work, and as long as it
yeah,
got you to a new error message or got you closer to the finish, usually then you could just feed that back to it and say, hey, that thing you gave me was broken. Here's the error it got, and they'll say, oh, I left this thing out. Sorry, here's actually what I should do.
yeah. No, totally. The other thing I'll say is for me, it was a great learning tool to learn. So I hadn't used Tailwind professionally until working at OpenSauce.
Hmm.
Like I was at Netlify before that, like you mentioned, and so I wasn't doing front end at that point. I was just
Hmm.
working on the frameworks team, and then prior to that, I was at Dev 2, and we had custom CSS and a lot of bespoke stuff. And so, I mean, I wasn't stressed out about like learning Tailwind because I think it is pretty
You've written enough
intuitive when,
CSS in your life, I'm sure, to figure it out.
yeah, but the thing was, like, there were certain cases where I was like, I know exactly how to write this in CSS, but I don't know because like there is a DSL to Tailwind, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm, yeah.
some things are pretty obvious, like M dash some number, it's a margin, P dash,
Mhm.
it's a padding. Like a lot of those are obvious, but then I was trying to do stuff like just a little more complex. So like using the ampersand selector, or I forget, there was some things that were a little more advanced that I wanted to write it in CSS, but I was trying to leverage Tailwind as much as possible. Like
Yeah.
side note,
Mhm.
but like Tailwind is great, but sometimes you do have to do some custom CSS. But my main point is I was like, I know how to do this in CSS. I said, this is what I have in CSS. How do I
Write it in
write this
Tailwind.
as a Tailwind CSS
Yeah.
classes? And I did that for about 2 weeks when I first started at open source. I mean, I didn't tell anybody. Not that I ashamed or anything. I was just like, it's just another tool for me.
This is
You
the
know
thing,
that.
man, about people using AI for work, but like not knowing whether to talk about it or not. Like, you know, I think I'm definitely pro normalizing it and like people more people should share what actually works and what doesn't. 'Cause, like that's a really good one. Where
Oh
once
yeah,
you
yeah,
find something like that it actually works and it consistently works, like that's a crazy superpower you just got.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I've mentioned this story a few times, and again, it's not. I just didn't mention it at work initially because I was just
Yeah,
like I
exactly.
was
Yeah.
like super
Hmm.
busy. Like I was just like I
Yeah.
had to get shit done, and
Hmm.
it's like, but excuse me. Um, but yeah, I just thought it was a really great way to learn something. And I think another thing that, and we're definitely going to dig into some code soon because I know we're already at 1:30 here. But I think another thing that's interesting is like a few things I definitely use it for is like, say I get like a snippet of JSON, I
Hmm.
can generate I can write a TypeScript type for that piece of JSON if it's like a small thing. But if it's
Hmm.
like I was working on a prototype of something recently and I was given a code snippet of JSON for like a payload, example payload, and I was like, okay, I'm not typing out all the types for this. I just pasted that into ChatGPT. I just said, can you generate a TypeScript type for this piece of
Hmm.
JSON? Boom, I got it like 2 seconds later. pasted that in. I might have tweaked a few things to narrow some types maybe, but it like those are the kinds of things where it's like bing bang boom. I'm like I've saved myself like 10 minutes. Uh Tony just joined over on Twitch says, "Hey Nikki, coming in on the AI discussion. Feels the same. Needs discussion. Too much parody." Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Also, thanks for joining, Tony. Do you know? I've never met Tony, but I met Tony. I think through Jason Langsdorf's Discord,
Yeah,
and
various streams around.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I just
totally.
basically see him on somebody's Twitch stream at some point.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
same.
But yeah, stuff like that. Like these kinds of things. This kind of gets into the whole other topic of like I'm really not scared of losing my job to AI. Like maybe in 10 years that might be different, but like right now I think and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in saying this, but like I think it's the people that resist saying like I'm not using these tools. Those are the ones that are gonna actually like
It's gonna be
sorry.
hard because you gotta compete with people who are gonna be leveraging tools to be more productive, and so
Yeah,
I definitely think it's gonna be the case that we're going to just continue to like kind of like use these things more and more in our workflows, but there's never a
oh
point
yeah.
where you just can tell it to generate the whole thing you want because people don't know what they want. Like even like a really good PM can like create
Yeah,
like a whole app and a whole thing, but at the same time they still have to go give it to users then, and then if they have
yeah,
things that are they want changed, they need to go modify, and at that point they have become a developer even if they're just using the thing to constantly build
yeah,
their thing. Like at a certain
yeah.
point, it's just like no code to the nth degree.
Yeah. And side note, in terms of normalizing stuff, like, and then I definitely want to jump into to some live coding, but like, like I'm curious what it's like for people that interview now, like because I've done stuff where you get that like scratch pad or what the heck's it called? I I didn't get hired at Facebook, but I had to do like I, I made it all the way there, but basically the initial tests, it's like there's no IntelliSense or anything. I'm doing good, Bryn, by the way.
They
Thank you.
just give you like text edit basically.
Yeah, 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 basically.
Yeah.
So like
hmm
anyways, it went well, but like I can understand why that's a little weird to a lot of people because it's not what you're normally working in, right? Like it's just it seems like a weird
Yeah, it's
gatekeepy
artificial.
trick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think they want people to be able to do the things that they can do because they feel like if they can't do it, they know how to do, then they must be incompetent.
yeah, and the reality is it's like you're gonna start a job somewhere, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we use WebStorm too, or like we use VS Code and the funny
Yeah.
thing was when I interviewed at Netlify, when I got to the technical part, eventually I it was with two of my old coworkers, Matt Kane and Eduardo Bucas, and
Yeah, I've had them on my pod.
yeah, yeah, no, they're good people. But like it wasn't so much about getting something completely working. We talked through a lot of stuff. There was a bit of coding and stuff. And then at one point I was like, "Oh, sorry, I forgot I had Copilot on." And they're like, "Don't worry about it. We use it too." And I thought that was a really great answer because,
Mhm.
it was normalizing like, okay, it's okay to use this tool. Like, oh, hey, how's it going, Shariah? Thanks for joining. Um, it I don't know, like, I guess somebody was talking about this the other day. I don't know if it was Jason Langsdorf or I forget where I think it might have been Jason, but like, like say somebody is new to tech and they're using these tools, and they build something, that's fine. But I think they still want you to be able to explain like what you
Sure,
did,
yeah. They
not
wanna make
just
sure you
like,
actually have presence of mind and
yeah,
understand what's happening and that you are actually following what's, the problem is and how to solve it and, all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you killed the tech project in Netlify. Cool stuff. Sorry, Tony's in the chat chatting. Yeah, if there wasn't a fit there at the time. Yeah, that's a thing too. Like, side note about just interviewing. Sometimes you can be awesome and it's just not the uh it's just not a fit. But eight rounds, that's pretty long. I think I had the technical interview, and then I met with a couple managers and the recruiter. But anyways, uh, I know you're pretty skilled, Tony. So I guess too bad it didn't work out. I guess, but two departments. Oh wow, jeez. Maybe I don't know when you interviewed. I interviewed back in it was fall 2021. That's when I started, and then there was a bit of delay because it was
That
the
was a good
Christmas
time to
holidays.
start DevRel at Netlify.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool, cool. All right, we're getting in the weeds here. We can talk about the whole interviewing stuff too, but I do kind of want to, yeah. Let's kind of talk about what we're gonna dig into here. So, like you were saying, we want to dig into some AI for front ends, and it's not necessarily, oh, same time frame. Oh, sorry to hear, man. Yeah, cool, cool, cool. Yeah.
So can you
So
pull up uh
yeah,
go
let's do
to
that.
LlamaIndex.ts
Cool, and I'll
or
just
just like
drop.
Google that. That's not the website. Yep,
Cool.
that's the one. And then so we want the TS one. So this is gonna take you to all their Python stuff.
Okay. I'm assuming Llama Index TS means TypeScript.
TypeScript. There you go, buddy. So yeah,
Okay.
this is a pretty cool open source project. Actually, we should go to the GitHub first. So we kind
Okay.
of top right,
Cool.
yeah.
Side note, but my old coworker Lori Voss works at Llama Index now. I think they're
Yeah, I think they do
running DevRel
their
there.
main DevRel. Uh-huh. Yep, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Um, sorry. Bryn in the chat has a question. Why did
hmm
you choose to do all that, like the YouTube things and interviewing? Also, what interests you in the AI world? The all the other things, talking about interviewing and stuff, those are just typically happens on a live stream. Just I call them tangents. It happens. Um, and also, what interests you in the AI world? Just interested in general tooling and how it can make me more productive, I think. I don't know about you, Anthony.
Um, a couple things. It definitely, pure just like productivity. That's cool. I really enjoy using it to just like learn about different topics, like because you can ask it more you can get answers back to all sorts of range of questions that you can't do with just like
Yeah.
googling stuff and like finding sources to try and read it. So you can just
Okay.
like I always got really into like the 60th anniversary of like the JFK assassination was recently. And so it's like that's like a huge, massive historical topic with like millions of documents and thousands of books written about it. And so I just like have these like long conversations, like learning all these like random facts about it and different theories and stuff like that. So I think it could be used as a really interesting tool for just education and learning. And
Yeah.
you can then put things in where you can have it track people's progress over time. And it's like that's kind of a whole different type thing. But I think that's pretty cool. And I really enjoy it for condensing large amounts of text and information. It's like summaries and stuff. So one
Okay.
thing is I've always had podcasts and like streams and stuff, but it's hard to always find the time to do things like create chapters and timestamps and like a really good transcript. And so all of those things now you can get like 99% of the way by using these tools. And so that's
Okay.
just really cool because it lets me just make my content more legit.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Awesome. Okay, so we got Llama Index TS here, which is, I'm assuming, a Node.js version of what we can work with for their stuff.
Yeah, so this is doing a couple things. It's kind of like things like LangChain, which are basically giving you a higher level abstraction on top of different models, so that you could
Yeah.
use OpenAI's Chat GPT, or you can switch over to Claude, like we were saying before. There's
Yeah, yeah.
also these vector databases that allow you to load your own data and then query and interact with it that way. Llama Index is kind of like a mid ground between the two. It both handles multiple
Okay.
models and then it also handles a lot of the underlying vector implementation stuff. So this
Okay.
is, as far as I can tell, the simplest way to just spin up like a really simple chat interface front end and then like talk to your like a PDF or anything like that. So I'm going to give
Okay.
you a gist, and I'll
All
put it in the
right.
chat too.
Okay.
Hold on, not that.
Let's put that there.
I want
All
this
right.
one.
You just send that over Discord or?
Okay, sorry. The one I sent to Discord, I think was may or may not have been the correct one.
Okay, I'll
Okay,
just
no, it
grab it
is.
from
Yeah,
the chat.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me open that up. Cool, cool, cool. Let's zoom this in. Okay,
Okay.
so
So the
all
first thing
right.
is you're gonna download this PDF, and this is gonna
Okay,
be um, I ran your last like 5 streams or 6 streams through my show
okay,
notes generator and then put those all in a document. So we're going to use this to ask questions
okay,
about your previous shows.
okay. Anthony, I'm calling you Anthony
Anthony.
AI.
Sweet.
Uh,
Anthony GPT.
yeah. Whoops, Anthony AI. Okay, cool. All right, let's curl this bad boy. Where's the? Uh, okay.
Yeah, it just doesn't have those, I don't think, which
Okay,
is
yeah.
weird. They should.
You saw what I was trying to do.
Yeah, click the
Okay.
click the copy. Yeah. And then
Okay.
this is
Cool.
for the API key. So you could either so what I think is so you should put this in your .zshrc is what you should do, because the next
Okay.
couple of commands are going to work just as written if this is in your environment, or you can just export it for just your current session if you don't think you're going to be out of
Yeah.
this session.
I'm gonna just add it to my ZSRC because I'm gonna do this off screen.
Great.
And can you send me a token, not a token, a API key
I
real quick?
I already
Or did
did.
you?
It's
Okay,
it's
cool.
right before the gist.
All right, cool. I'm just gonna pop it in. Give me 2 seconds here. Le gist. Okay. All right. Yeah, I see it. Cool. Do, do. Okay, let's close that. All right. Let's just run ZSH again. Okay, cool.
All
All
right.
right,
So now
so
there's this thing
okay, I
called
got my
create
PDF.
llama, which is like any of your create a thing, and if you do it without all these options, you can like kind of walk through these one by one, but this is going to ensure we do exactly what I want to do. The only thing we're going to have to change though is files. Let me
Yeah.
just talk
Okay.
through what each of these is though. The
Okay.
first thing is there's different templates, so you could either do a like Next.js app, or you can do like a Python based backend app, or you can do just a regular Express server. So we're going to do the Next.js. It comes with a front end.
Okay.
Is that your launching?
Cool. Oh, you can hear it? I yeah, it
This
is.
every
I,
so many of those have the same song.
I'm laughing because usually my I use Crisp AI and usually it keeps out stuff like that. Maybe it's just
It was
maybe
very
it's
faint.
just yeah.
I have a
Maybe
good
it's
ear. I went to school for it.
yeah, it's true. Yeah. I'd be disappointed if not. You're a musician. So no, it's just kind of funny
Okay.
because like stuff like if fire trucks go by and stuff, you
Right,
don't
yeah.
hear it.
Because if it's loud enough, it knows to hit the compressor. Yeah. Anyway, so and
Okay,
then
cool.
observability is just if you want to like send telemetrics and stuff back, which I don't want to do. And
Okay.
then you give it your
The key.
open AI key. So that'll be in your environment variables, and then you pick a model. So they will you can do GPT 3.5 or 4 or 4 turbo. We don't have to go into this too much, but basically 3.5 is super duper cheap old model that honestly doesn't even really work that well. And it's only if you
Okay.
just want to like make sure you have something working, you don't really want to use it.
Yeah.
GPT-4 is newer and better and more expensive, but GPT-4 Turbo is allegedly still better but cheaper, which is
Okay.
interesting how that could work. But that's the one that we're going to use, especially because if we want to just ask it about you, Nikki T, it will have more data about you. So, like when I tried asking
Okay.
GPT 3.5, like, who is Nikki T? and it was like made up some person. And then I asked it to
Okay.
GPT-4, and it was like, oh, they're a developer from Dev2 and Netlify. And I'm like, wow. So
Yeah.
we want to use the more recent one if possible in general.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Side note, but if you try to Google Nick Taylor, uh, typically if you find somebody in Canada, it's a pro golfer. So I basically gave up on SEO, and my name's
Nice.
pretty common, I think. So
Yeah.
all right, cool.
And
The
the
only thing I
files,
changed is
yeah.
oh yeah, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so
Yeah.
the files is written to you give it a either a individual file or you give it a folder with files. And so I
Okay.
wrote it as if you're just in the home root of your computer running all these commands. So
Yeah.
you already modified that, and then
Yeah.
use llama parse. That is if you want to use llama's newer updated implementation of their parser. They have like a cloud service now, so you need an API
Okay.
key, and that makes things a little more complicated. But also, it's like this thing is turning into a company. I'm guessing so. There's a cloud now, so that's what you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
vector
Cool.
DB is if you want a whole vector database. This is if we weren't just loading a single PDF, we wanted to load like 1,000 or something like that, or if you wanted to put in other
Okay.
types of media and things like that. And then tools is a LlamaIndex specific thing if you want to use like plugins and stuff. And then post and
Okay.
install action will just install the dependencies after we generate it. So I think if you run
Okay.
that guy, everything should work.
Okay. And while that's running, um, say yes. Let me just, there we go. Okay. So it's installing the dependencies at this point. Quick question I had is, so like we have vector DB none right now, but if I did specify it, that means I could omit files potentially, right?
You could what
Or do you
files?
need to include? So right now we're passing a PDF and there's no vector DB, but if I
Mhm.
wanted to have a vector DB, I don't necessarily need files, or is the
Well,
vector DB really to complement searching the files you pass in?
yeah, so the vector DB is so you're not just searching, you're not loading in data just directly from your own computer. So like this is literally where
Okay, okay,
if you want to give it a PDF, it's just off of our own machine. And so you can have as much stuff on your machine as you want. So you could feed it stuff and it can generate all of these vectors for you, or you could use a vector
okay,
database where you give it all the data and then it kind of does that. So there's kind of different points where it makes sense to use these tools kind of depending on how much data you have. So if you just want to query a small amount of documents, then it doesn't really make sense to use a vector DB. But if you have a whole bunch of stuff,
okay. So
so
it couldn't find that. Hold on a sec. I'll go fix. I don't know how to do this quicker, but you know what?
all
Let me
good.
just copy
This
it
is why
here.
you need warp.
Yeah,
So
I,
you
I,
let's just step through it. Just you just do the original command. It's not a big deal. This is the thing that tripped me up too the first time was getting the file in the right place.
oh, and just put it in my home directory then.
No, I'm saying just run npx create dash llama at latest Nikki T.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll do the old. Now that I explained that, people have this God command if they want. We
okay.
can walk through it as well. That would probably be good. So just do it just like yeah, exactly. You
Yeah,
got it.
sorry. Still a bit of brain fog from the cold.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's because it exists
You
already.
just yeah
Yeah, okay.
nuke everything first. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
which, yeah, so we
So
want
this is gonna be
next.
chat, the first one.
Okay. That's what streaming is. Okay.
Yeah.
Next.js, no observability. OpenAI leave blank to skip, right? Because it'll
Well,
read
you're
it
gonna
from
want
the.
to put that in. You should pull this off screen and do that.
All right, all right. Here we go. Here we go. Da,
Periodic
da,
table.
da. Oh yeah, that's the H. Yeah, that's my
Oh, it's cool.
backgrounds. Side note, that's a cool app from Cinder Sorhus, who's
Oh
like
yeah.
written I don't know how many packages for
Oh
npm
yeah.
at this point, or for the JavaScript ecosystem. But it's kind of cool. You can make it interactive. Uh, okay, and here, okay. I gotta continue this on this off screen for a sec because it still shows the API key. So I'm
Okay,
gonna
that's fine.
choose GPT for Turbo Preview.
Yep.
Use local files, right?
It'll probably let you actually select it. It will come up with a file picker. At least it did when I was doing
Oh
this.
yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that kind of
Cool.
ensures you can't mess this step up if you do it this way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I just
Would you
hate
like
doing these
to?
walkthroughs. I like being able to run a single command and say generate the thing exactly like this.
Yeah. So we're not using llama parse. No vector database. Okay. If so, otherwise just press enter. Start in VS Code. Yes. Okay. Okay. Failed to start VS Code, but it did generate the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's clear. Let me bring back over. This could be because I'm in VS Code Insiders. This is something
Oh
I
yes, yeah.
experienced with Million Lint the other day. Okay, so it did create Nikki T. So let's go to code, Nikki T. Whoops. T dash R. Don't save. Cool. All right. Now we got the project here. It's
Cool.
asked me if I want
So
to
now,
open in a container.
no, no, no.
Okay.
Yeah, the Docker stuff is we don't need to do any of that.
Okay.
So the only thing you gotta do is run npm run generate. Now what this does is
Okay.
this does the step that is kind of like your vector DB, where it's going to read your.
Uh, it didn't. I think I forgot to
Ah,
install the dependencies. 2 seconds.
oh right, yeah, because that's what the
Yeah.
post install action was for.
I'm guessing
But
it's using TS node for the local development, or maybe. Okay. Generated storage context, no valid down. I found
so what's
that.
happening here is it's reading the PDF and then generating the. So this is like the embeddings essentially. So if you look
Okay.
in here, this is like all of your stuff that actually turns. So actually go
Okay.
to, instead of this one, go to one of the other files. Can you open your file picker back up again? Actually,
I have
just
three
go to
vector
vector
index.
store.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the embeddings right there.
Okay. Okay. So, and this is what should make it more efficient to find things.
Yeah, this is essentially what turns your PDF into a language that the computer can understand and can kind of now use. And it's like, the Matrix. They plug you in, load you up with data. It's like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Cool. All right. So we've got the project. So it's Next.js. Should I start the dev server or what should we do next?
Yeah, so just npm run dev should be all you need to do.
Okay. Let's move this over. Boom. Hello, localhost 3000. And okay.
All
Okay,
right.
so
So think about
it's built
what
to chat.
question.
Okay.
So think about what question you want to ask. What insight would you like to glean from your previous episodes?
Okay. So uh, how do I why can't I type in there?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Sometimes you have. Yeah, this has this
At the
weird.
tab in.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is Nick working on? So for context, since I work in open source, I've been streaming my work. I'm working
It
on
doesn't
a
have those
pull request.
episodes.
Okay, which episodes?
I just did the last six guest episodes.
Oh, guest episodes. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We could do that actually next time. Next time we'll feed you all your co-working
Okay.
ones. That would probably be more interesting for you.
Okay. No, I know it's cool. I just glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
What is polypaint?
Was that one of your last six episodes?
Should be. Yeah, so
It was.
I did a live stream. Okay. Now, just for
Yeah.
context, again, no pun intended, is this only basing this off of the PDF? It's not going
No,
out
no.
to the
This
search?
is just knowledge. It just knows this answer. So do this.
Okay.
Say what were some major themes of the last few episodes? Ask that.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that was the one. Okay, yeah, that the second one was with Brian Morrison, who's at Clerk now. Compassion and Resilience, that was with April Wenzel. Uh, Building Genuine Relationships, that might have been part of that as well. Valuable content. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so you see
yeah,
some of these are direct episodes that people did. Some of them are kind of topics that were discussed throughout the episodes. Some can kind of cross over between episodes, but this is like the idea space
okay,
that you're kind of existing in. And to me, like I read this like, yeah, that sounds like Nikki T stream to me.
okay. Excuse me. Okay, so this is pretty neat out of the box because like obviously it's a template. Like I might be like for
Mhm.
my own like for my branded site, this looks terrible because like I don't it doesn't match. But like
Yeah.
again, it's a template, right?
Hmm.
But it's a
Yeah.
good starting point and okay and we're just I guess this is a great is this would this be a great way to generate like a docs site Q&A kind of?
Yeah, exactly. So you could feed
Okay.
it all of your docs and all like one thing that people find really makes these things good is if you have like a frequently asked questions, like the questions and the answers, and you feed it to that, then it can kind of figure stuff out really well as people are asking
Okay.
it stuff. So yeah, this is the type of thing that you would use to basically have people ask questions about a custom specific set of terms or code.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 No, that's pretty cool. Let me see.
And this is one of the reasons why, like a year ago, everyone did that. Like everyone put out a chat box, like talk to your docs, like Astro did it, and all these other projects did it. And some worked better than others. I think everyone got really excited to build it, and then probably built it maybe 6 months too soon. Like right now, these things work really, really well. At the time, it was a little bit harder.
okay. I asked this question because I don't think it knows really much about Million Lint yet, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Okay. So this is based, I did the stream with one of their community engineers, Toby.
Toby. Yeah, I know him.
So, and yeah, and I saw it took a second to answer, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't like getting an answer from the internet. So, and it even says appears to be, so I'm guessing it's taking that out of the context from the streams. Okay, that's cool. So this is pretty neat. And then like obviously you could tie in a vector database. So like I don't think we're gonna have time to pop in a vector database today, but this is like one particular example. I know I did a stream with Liz. I think her last name's pronounced Siegel. She works at Twilio, and we did one with LangChain. And from what I understood about
Okay.
LangChain, again, because I haven't really worked with it that much aside from that stream, was it's really kind of like it's the buffet. Pick which one, pick what you want to use. Kind of like it's kind of like an
Mhm.
intermediary like whether you want to use like OpenAI or Mistral or whatever. Is that kind of what LangChain is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Okay.
they also have other like they have like an agent implementation. We talked about agents way back in the
Okay.
beginning, and so they also build other higher level things like that. And they have like a million examples. And LangChain has like a massive, massive community. I
Okay.
find their abstractions can be a little weirder. Like I have a buddy Monarch who's like specifically built like a version of LangChain. This is like way simpler. It just gets rid of all like
Okay.
the LangChain like higher level abstractions. This is just like give here's a function, give it text.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, but if you've already done
Okay, cool, cool.
LangChain, you already have a good idea of kind of some of this stuff. What was that episode? Do you have a link to that?
Yeah, let me find it. I know we had some technical difficulties. We ended up getting something done at the end, but let me find it. Liz, I think it's Siegel and Nikki T Live. Oh yeah, here it is. LangChain
Okay.
AI Thanksgiving. Let me go to YouTube though, because that
Is it on your videos, not live? Yeah, there it is.
yeah, it should be there if you
Yeah, I
you can
got it.
check it out. We ran into a few things and it wasn't. It
Okay,
was
I remember.
more
I watched some of the stream. Now I
it
remember.
it was a struggle. I wasn't stressed out, but it was just kind of
Yeah.
funny because dealing with Python, then like dependencies weren't installing in certain cases, or the wrong ones. It wasn't finding the right things. So, but anyways,
Yes. So
um,
LangChain and LlamaIndex both have Python versions and JavaScript versions. So I know
okay,
nothing about the Python versions. So I'm not a Python developer, but all I know is that
yeah, yeah,
I feel like using Python is hard, and every time I see people try and actually spin up Python, it's just like a total nightmare. It's all this like virtual environment stuff, and no one ever knows what to do. So I think actually
yeah.
having really nice, simple JavaScript tutorials and ways to work with these things and spin them up is actually like huge. And I think we'll get a lot of Python developers to start doing more JavaScript if it stays that way.
Okay, cool, cool. Um, sorry, still got that cough. Um, sorry again. Um,
All
yeah,
good.
did you this was definitely a cool demo here that we spun up pretty quickly aside from like the minor issue with the file path
Yeah.
which was on me. Um, did you want to I've heard of Mistral but I've never used it. I don't know if you want to touch on that or do you just want to I don't know if you had any demos planned for that or you just want to talk about it.
So we could spin that one up. Because that one actually is, I've basically got the example. Actually, let's not. So I did this for.
Oh, you broke up for a sec.
Sorry, I just realized I was on. I left. I was typing
Oh, okay,
a
cool,
search
cool.
for the tab I was streaming from Twitch. Uh, hold on one second.
Cool, cool.
Um, yeah, so just go to Mistral's just homepage.
Okay, it's just Mistral AI, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Actually, I already have a link to it. Uh, that can't be right. Uh, Mistral.ai. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so what's
I
cool
like their
about
homepage.
Mistral is they have actually open sourced their models. So this is one of the big differences between them and things like OpenAI or Claude is that the actual model that is ChatGPT, like no one can run that on their own computer. Basically, it's all proprietary. No one even knows what it is necessarily, and there's been kind of
Yeah,
like people who've leaked information about it on like podcasts and stuff about what the actual implementation is. But I don't know. I think this is a huge problem, and it's going to make it hard for people to trust these models. It's going to hold back
yeah,
progress. It's going to lead to probably more regulatory concerns. So I just think the more we can encourage like open source AI from every level of the stack, the better. So that
yeah.
is why Mistral is kind of so important.
I guess a couple things before we look into it a bit, but like, what's the business play then? Still dying here.
So they will still give you the ability you can use. So it's the same thing as it always is. We'll still run it for you, even though it's open source. Like you still, most people are
Okay,
not
okay.
going to actually want to like have a bunch of servers in their house to serve all these
Yeah,
like
yeah,
requests to a chatbot. So just because we want people to be able to experiment on it and have the ability to run it themselves, like the average dev still is going to want to outsource heavy lifting. So whether
yeah.
that
Okay,
business play works or not, I think that is kind of what they're planning on right now. I'm sure there's other things in the
yeah,
pipeline, but I
yeah,
think if there are going to be just like a couple kind of foundational models, then it'll be very hard for them to break through. If we end up having kind of like dozens of these, and then they all find kind
yeah,
of different niches, then we'll see what happens. But right now, they're definitely
yeah,
considered one of the main competitors.
yeah. Because the other thing I wonder about is like I've read about this and it makes sense. Like the heavy hitters are the ones with the money that can pay for all this computing power, right? Like,
Yeah,
Microsoft, like
exactly.
I said before, they're gonna buy a million GPU computer.
Hmm.
No one can compete with that unless you're like Meta or Amazon or Google, like uh, who else can compete with that? They can't. I mean, anyways, that's like a whole other debate, I guess. But okay, so let's talk about Mistral. So open source. So already it's got a +1 in my books. Um, I like how they've mixed the franglais here. Talk to le chat.
So I just popped a link in here. This is the Mistral example we had for Edgeo. You could probably spin this up. You need to clone down the entire repo, I think. Or
Okay,
actually,
cool.
I have yeah. So these instructions are wrong now. Actually, whoops.
Let's go to. Oh, whoops. Okay, clone the whole Edgeo examples.
Yeah, and then it's
Okay,
this is like examples with things, examples within examples. So once
okay,
you've done that, I'll kind of show you where the project is, and then
cool, cool,
just
cool.
want to work from inside there.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's go. Thank you, 1 gigabit internet.
No,
All
it's
right.
because it's a
Cool.
massive repo. This happens to me too.
Okay.
So
So let's open it. Actually, geo
yeah, so basically
examples.
you're gonna go to examples, um, v7 AI, and then Mistral.
V7 dash AI
Yeah,
Mistral.
there you go. Yeah,
Okay. Should I open that as its own thing?
yeah. You just want to be in the Mistral one. Basically, get rid of all
Okay.
that other stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So copy path. Let's just do this.
Okay, I need to give you a
Okay.
Mistral tag key too.
I'll just install the dependencies. Cool, cool, cool. We're like in the matrix here. Hacking and
And then create a .env, and
okay,
then you API key I just gave you.
okay. The good thing is I have a cloaking thing that will hide it. So let me just take it off screen for a sec though. Okay, toggle. Okay, just drop that in Discord. All right, cool. Le Mistral. Is it a French company or did are they just playing
Yes, they are
fun
French.
with?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah, because it's the franglais like that. That's not a French Canadian thing. That's like a very French from France kind of thing. Le parking and well, we say that stuff in Quebec too, but
That's
anyways,
funny.
let me make sure. So let me just double check again before. ENV. Okay, cool. Toggle. Yeah. Okay, cool. We good. I'll give you a panic here. Oh no, the environment file's open, but it's cloaked. All right, cool. All right. So what should we get up to next? Install the dependencies.
Yeah, so then let's just run it. I think it's
Okay.
npm run dev. Or no,
Oh,
sorry, it's npm start.
okay. Cool. Let's just bring this over. Okay. Web stream example. Do I
So
need,
yeah,
I don't
so
need
for
to,
this, I think it's the way I had already set this up is that you would still use it with Open AI. So you give it your Open API key, and then this way
okay.
you wouldn't have to have your own Open AI key hard coded in. So
Oh, okay, okay.
so
We
let's
can
try
change
that
that.
first of all. If you want to just like kind of position your screen. So
Yeah. Okay, give me a sec. And I only have to enter it once, I guess, for the session, or like
let's
anytime I ask
see.
a question.
I think it just kind of stays there anytime you ask a question. Yeah, this one's not really like a super great example. The only reason why I really put this one in is because it doesn't use Next, and it's a little more agnostic to what service you
Okay.
use. I think so. I'm not sure if you can just give it other API keys or not, or if you'd have to actually like change the code. I'm like poking around in it right now.
Okay, actually, it's telling me the Mistral API key isn't good. Or no, saying Mistral API error, not necessarily the key is bad, but
So
well, it
try it
says
without the
401.
key. So it's not so you wouldn't put your Mistral API key there. You put your OpenAI API key there.
Yeah, no, I did.
Oh, you
Try
did?
again, but
Huh.
2 seconds. Open AI key. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it still gives the Mistral error. Can let's see here. Let me just look at the network panel. Let me do it again. Let me see if I can just get it to submit. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna delete the key again. And then let's just see what the network. Okay. Mistral Tiny.
Let's do this instead. Let's
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a link. Let's just do one of these simple node scripts instead.
Okay. Cool. Right.
This
I
is another
call
thing
him
that I like
Hacker
about
Man.
most of this stuff is that you don't even need a front end. Like all these things you can just do with kind of like node scripts if you want. Just run commands and then you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
just kind of feed text from one place to the command, and you can do all sorts of stuff that way. So this will be good.
Cool. Did you send it? I didn't see it in Slack.
Oh, sorry. Wham.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just do the
Le
first,
Duc.
just the first chat completion. Just create basically like a Node.js, just like create like a
Okay.
JS file and just run it with like a Node command.
Yeah. Cool. Why is this not done? Boom. Trash. Okay. Let's go down one. Oh yeah, I'm deep in this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was some of the stuff I was gonna show you when we first streamed this, when we first scheduled this, but it's been a while since I looked at these and I'm already kind of over them. So
Yeah. Cool. Is it okay? I was confused for a second. I was like, that's not JavaScript.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's do this. MJS. Okay, cool. Let's copy this. Cool. And I'm using, okay, it's not gonna pick that up because I don't have, uh,
Do you know how to
um,
use environment variables with Node 20?
yeah, I know it imports environment variables now, so I can't remember the syntax, but I do have, I'm pretty sure I'm on node 20.
Yeah, give me one
Yeah,
second. I got it in like a
yeah,
little snippet because I
yeah.
always forget it
Because
also.
I always used to have a thing that said if dev, use .env, but
Yeah. Okay, so it's dash dash env dash file equals dot env.
okay. Then
Yeah, that's the one.
node and then,
You want to put it after node though, I
oh
think.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's a flag.
Yeah.
Node, le Mistral. Mistral.mjs. .env. Oh, it's because I'm not in the root of Mistral. Yeah, okay, okay. Hold on. Give me one
Yeah, you
sec
just
here.
nuke your whole thing and start over.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm just gonna move it though. Let's do. Give me 2 seconds here. Let's go dev streams. Anthony AI, there you are. And Edgio, where's my Mistral? Oh, I didn't even save it yet. Save. It's under Anthony AI now. Okay, go up. Boom. All right, let's just drag this in. Whoops. Should be able to show and finder. Cool. And let's get you out of there, buddy. And let's get you here. All right, cool. Now we're good. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, better.
This is gonna be something, yes, something about.
Okay,
Oh, we
we don't
need
have
to
a
install the
package.
package, yeah.
Okay, so okay, npm install le Mistral. What is it? Mistral AI. Cool. All right, let's try this again.
We
Where
went
did it
past it.
go? Yeah, node. There we go. Okay, so still getting the API error. I'm gonna double check the API key then.
It might be because my
Oh no.
API key is old.
Oh yeah, yeah. It says unauthorized. So okay.
Let me see. Let me go back in and log in. Let's see. That makes sense. It might be why our front was broken, actually.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I think I can create another one real quick. Yeah, here we go.
I'll take this commercial break to blow my nose.
Okay, this will expire in 2 weeks.
Glad I got this cold before I go to Miami. That's all I can say.
Okay, here we go. Just sent it to you.
Cool. All right. Let's try this again. Okay. Let me pop this out real quick.
Huh. It seems to be saying I was using tokens, so maybe it was responding, but it was like getting swallowed by an error or something.
Oh, weird.
Interesting.
All right. New one's there. Save. Cool. Let's pop that back. Let's see what we got. Huh. Same thing. Okay. Well, clearly maybe an API key thing, but
Hmm. Weird. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is not
okay.
uh
Yeah. Well, we won't
demo that I
stress out
had
about it too
prepared,
much.
so this is what
Yeah,
happens when
yeah,
you go
no,
off-roading.
no. Yeah. It's okay. It's live streaming. Things don't always go as planned. But essentially, so so aside from Mistral being open source, I guess what differentiates it maybe from say like Open AI or like Cloud or
That is the big
Cloud.
question. I would say not much, unfortunately.
Okay.
So for people who want to make this pitch for open source and why it's so valuable, it's going to be an uphill battle, let me tell you. Like
Okay.
they don't have anywhere near the resources that OpenAI does, so they don't have like all these other fancy extra bells and whistles like custom GPTs and like sharing
Okay.
links to chats and stuff like that. But it is if it the long-term play is kind of like if you believe in open source, then eventually the open source models are going to be the best ones. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like the long-term play is that if especially if you think about copyright and stuff like that, it's going to be
Yeah.
just the legal challenges of creating these things are going to get more and more complicated. So yeah, I don't know. We'll kind of see right now. I think they're still a fairly young early company, so they probably have a lot of plans and features they plan on building out. But right now, it's like basically it's just the chat stuff and embeddings and
Okay.
things like that.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, no, this is it's been fun hanging here, man. I know I'm definitely down. We talked about it briefly before the stream, but I'd definitely be down to digging into more into some of this stuff, like you were saying, kind of combining a few things
Yeah,
to build out something a little more full-fledged. But I thought that's oh, sorry, man, this cold's got to go. Um, yeah, no, I just honestly, it was pretty cool how LlamaIndex pulled that in, and like maybe the other ones do this stuff too, but it just
Yeah,
seemed
LangChain is a similar thing where you'll get like a chat interface with like kind of more built out functionality in it. They had like a multi-tab one, and you can get
okay.
like JSON output and stuff like that. But LlamaIndex and LangChain are both kind of those two are really at the top of the class when it comes to this stuff.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, cool, cool. I'm a little partial to Llama Index because I have an alpaca on my stream, which is not a llama, but people always think it's a llama, so
Close
I don't
enough.
know. Maybe I can say that's where I bet my money because of that, just use some ridiculous reason why. Okay, cool. I'm gonna cough again. I know it. I'm dying here. Cool, cool, cool. No, it's been super fun, Anthony, man. I appreciate you like kind of clarifying a lot of the terms at the beginning of the stream because I don't know. It's like I feel like there's a lot of stuff in AI that still just gets like kind of like people just say AI. They
Sure.
never kind of specify things, So like
Yeah.
it's just nice to hear about like the training, the embeddings, the fact, I mean, some of these things I was familiar with, but like I liked how you clarified some of these things too. And I dropped a link to where people can give you a follow, but yeah, so you're doing mainly consulting now? Is that what you said you're doing?
Well, I'm doing kind of similar DevRel stuff that I was doing. I'm doing it for Dash, so I'm building out like front end examples and
Okay.
streaming, and I'm gonna be probably they want me to basically like be the connector to the Web 2 world. So do
Okay.
some of that kind of streaming too if you're interested. We're actually like looking for streamers that we can like pay to like do an episode or something, so you would be able to also make some money streaming about Dash if you wanted to. But it's a cool
Okay.
project. I know one of the dudes on the team, Ryan, really well,
Okay.
and they've been around for like 10 years, so it's like they preceded all the really crazy Web3
Okay.
craziness, and have stuck around through that. So, I think that they've actually like built a lot of trust in terms of what they're doing and their like legitimateness. But
Okay.
aside from that, I'm also writing articles for Everfund now. My co-host
Oh,
Chris,
cool.
he has his company
Nice.
Everfund, which is for nonprofits. And so
Yeah.
he's like, we want to write articles about AI. You want to do it? You know way more about this than I do. And I was like, sure.
Oh, cool, man. That's awesome. Well, I wish you all the best and all that. And yeah, we can chat about that. I don't really want to dive into to Web3 right at the end of this, but like, I think there's still a lot of I don't know. I definitely dabbled in it, and I found it interesting because like I'm always interested in looking at new technologies. Like
Yeah.
on the high level, I feel like there's a lot of scamming still going on. I know there's a lot of people who are trying to do legitimate work there too, though. So it's like I have a hard time finding a balance or of like, and then there's
Definitely.
other stuff like TBD, like Angie Jones's company, which is not
Hmm.
necessarily it's not cryptocurrency at all, but it's based on web technologies or web sorry, not technologies, web standards, which and it's decentralized too, but it's not necessarily web 3. I know they call it
It's
web 5,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
the
don't know.
authentication layer essentially. It's problems that Web3 has been aiming to solve just in a slightly different way. So I think a lot of people
Yeah.
felt the need to rebrand away from Web3, and there was a time when before Web3 they just called it blockchains and the
Yeah.
decentralized web or something like that. So to me, those are pretty much the same thing, which is kind of a rebrand. But I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's whatever it takes to get people into the stuff and excited about it because it's just about like how do we give the power back to the people, ideally, and away from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
giant corporations.
Yeah, I hear you. I just realized I forgot. Well, I have a window above me, and my house is facing
Is it being
the
eclipsed?
back. Yeah, well, I'm gonna go watch the eclipse shortly, but
Cool.
the my backyard is where the sun shines.
Hmm.
Like because we're the backyard's on the west side, so I have a feeling I might start getting eclipse rays coming through the window in a second, so I'm gonna go get my eclipse sunglasses on shortly. But it's been awesome, Anthony, and yeah, like I said, let's do another one, and we can kind of we can chat some more about it, but like build out something more full-fledged, like you were talking about.
Yeah,
And I think
awesome.
that'd be like one, it'd be fun to do, but also I think it would probably be a useful tool, whatever we build out there too.
That's the thing is
Like,
I want to actually create something that would be useful for you that you would actually use in like your content creation because that's what I'm doing now.
yeah. No, cool, cool, cool. Awesome. Well, like I said, check out Anthony's website. He's doing contract work if you're looking for anything developer advocacy. Also does a lot of writing. Check all that out. And yeah, always good hanging out, my man. And looking
Yep.
forward to when we meet in person again. And everybody else, we'll see you next week. Anthony, if you just don't mind staying on one sec.
Yep. Later, everybody.
Cool. Later.